Okay, so the first one, two, three, four questions in the box are kind of the same question. It is, how do you gain confidence in dating slash approaching women? How do I find Mr. Right? How do I know when I've found the one? How do you how do you find Mrs. Right, and how do you know, basically? So yeah, these are all basically the same question. Um, so my answer for that is design your perfect mate. So get as specific as humanly possible. Um, Physical, height, breast size, eye color, the type of bum they have, body type, weight, miscellaneous things like how they smile or whatever. Um, Mental, goals, politeness, how she treats possessions, what's her style of humor, are they blunt, are they tactful, whatever. Emotional, how do they treat emotions? What is their emotions to logic ratio? How do they treat new ideas? Are they enthusiastic or are they even keel? Maybe miscellaneous things like, they enjoy playing in a sprinkler or whatever. Hobbies. Are their hobbies physical? Are they mental? Are they passionate about their hobbies? Do they like indoor hobbies, outdoor hobbies? What kinds of things do they like? Are they artistic? Blah, blah, blah. Are they talented? I don't know, whatever. Sex. Are they aggressive? Are they submissive? Do they initiate or do you? Are they into whatever it is you're into? Do they do XYZ? Are they different in public or like, PDAs and stuff? Or are they overtly different? Hi, Selma. Welcome to the feed. And let's see, where was I? Yeah, more sex. Miscellaneous things. Cat or dog person. Are they good with their money, drug preferences, sound of their laugh, etc. You might also want to have a section for low priority extras. Um, Maybe things like, I don't know, they are computer literate or they like first person shooters or something like that. Some of what we are discussing, just to catch you up to speed, is a lot of similar questions. How do you find confidence in dating slash approaching women? How do I find Mr. Right? How do I know when I found the one? And how do you know when you found Mrs. Right? And how do you know that she is in fact Mrs. Right? Um, so I was just saying that way that I have found to be very successful is to design them, much like a RPG character or something. If you ever played D&D, literally just make a character up. So after you've designed this goddess or god in your mind, where they're just this amazing, perfect human being, then kind of do the flip side of that and design who the opposite is. So, what do you absolutely positively not want? Maybe you refuse to date a smoker or somebody who's racist or uh, somebody who chews their fingernails, whatever, whatever it is that is your, I can't possibly do this. And then you write that out. Now, after you have this list of the ideal and unideal human, you highlight your top 10 must-haves and your top 10 must-not-haves. And you refuse to budge. As Tom would say, you make them into a bright line. Um, and what that creates is a crystal clear who you want and why you want them. Um, I was telling somebody this the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, like I wrote down somebody who's not always on their phone and somebody who's like cute and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, that's good, but it needs to be much more specific." So write it out as specifically as you can. Now, what this also answers the question of how do I gain confidence in dating and approaching women, because when you are that clear about the person that you want, the next step is write out what it is, or sorry, who it is that they would want. So if this person uh, they've got six pack abs, okay, well, are they going to be looking for somebody who also has six pack abs, or are they going to be looking for somebody who doesn't? Chances are they're going to be looking for people of a similar body type to them, right? Usually like attracts like in that regard. Not always, but usually. Um, if you're looking for somebody who's super smart and you're dumb as a post, is that realistic, right? Because again, if somebody is, if you want to date Elon Musk and you don't know the quadratic formula. Are you two going to get along? I don't know. Maybe. Um, Selma can't hear anybody talking. Oh, well, I'm recording it, Selma. I can send it to you later. um, Let me see. So now you have two basic characters. You have this perfect human being that you're designed, and you have the uh, their perfect person who you think they would uh, want to seek. If those two line up and they are you, then that will give you the confidence that you need. Because if you have if you know, for example, that they are looking for somebody who is, I don't know, whoever you are, then you go, oh, cool, I can just be myself. And that's why people say, hi, Selma. That's why people say to be yourself, because uh, they assume that who you're after is somebody who is, in fact, looking for yourself. So, yeah, that basically, I hope that answers that question. The next step after that is proximity. So you've defined this god or goddess. You've defined who it is they would want, and that is you. And if it's not you, then you need to change one or both of the definitions. You need to either change your version of an ideal mate, or you need to change yourself so that you would be who that ideal mate would seek. So, for example, if you say, my ideal mate has to be really, really smart, and you're dumb as a post, okay, maybe a good idea would be to get smarter, or to lower your expectations of the intelligence of your future mate, right? That's basically the only option you have there. Otherwise, you're always going to be rejected or disappointed. Okay, so either change your expectations or change yourself. Not to say that you pretend to be somebody else. Literally change who you are. Upgrade. If the person you're after is super athletic, then maybe you should get athletic, and so on. And then, yeah, proximity. So, just if you're going after somebody who's smart, hang out in libraries. And the cool part is that when you go online, which is what I did in my case, I followed this, by the way, this description. Um, the process is very, very simple. You go out on a date with anybody who resembles this perfect list, and in the first date, you can usually ascertain if they have all 10 of your must-haves. And if they do, cool. If they don't, move on. And it gives you a sense of confidence because you know what you won't settle for. It removes the I'm going to date the polar opposite of my last date and wait 2 years to figure out if I'm doing it wrong process and everything else. So yeah, that's probably enough on that. If you want more information on that, I can ramble on that for days. Lindsay, did you have anything to add to that question? I know I rambled on for a while there.
Hey, I actually just came in mid ramble, so I'll go ahead and hang into the next question.
Sounds good. Well, I am recording this one, so let's see here. This one is long. As a group of people, sorry, as a group of people who follow impact theory, I feel it is safe to assume that most of us here are passionate about self-development and getting the most out of life, and seeing as romantic relationships is something that requires pretty significant amounts of time and energy. How do people in this group go about finding the balance for the two? In my past experiences, I've tended to either lose myself in a relationship or not give the relationship the attention it needs because I'm focusing on self-improvement. Okay, so I think there's two questions there. One, how do I not lose myself in a relationship? Because I think that can be very dangerous. And two, uh, basically home, work, love, life balance. I rambled on a bunch, so I'll give somebody else a chance to answer that, and I'll copy it into the questions as well.
I'll pitch in for that one if you don't mind.
Yeah, go nuts.
All right. So, and this is coming from the perspective of being in a long-term married relationship, but I think that the way not to lose yourself is to have things in common, but also have things that are not in common as far as interests go. Uh, it's just that's like one of the ways because it, it gives you something that you can work on individually, um, which is kind of like a self-fulfilling, like you build your trust in yourself and your own, competency. But then also you need to be strong as a couple too. So it's very important to be somebody who has uh, the similar values, the most important values that you have, especially when it comes to growth and progressing as not only a couple but as individuals. Somebody who wants you to do well, for yourself and for you guys. It's like a team. Um, just in my relationship with Christoph, we have seen so many different situations that I've seen and heard about other people divorcing over. I'm not saying that makes us better or anything like that, but man, like when I look at the things that we've been through, the communication between us is like the key element to keeping you on the same page and those values. Having the things that you find most important be linked up um, can save you a lot of pain, and in the same right, they can also help you get to the next level as far as growing in that way. It doesn't hamper you from being on your own, having a growth mindset, because you know that what's influencing you around you is stability and supportive to you in that way. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also a question of being really clear as to what balance is for you. There's some people in relationships that really need their alone time. There's other people that are kind of constantly joined at the hip. And I think if you are with somebody who you've defined as, your ideal mate, then you will probably be wanting to spend a similar amount of time together and a similar amount of time on your own personal projects. And I think that just communication is just like you say, it's just the key thing is talk to your mate and tell them like, here's my thing. I have a goal. I want to be a best-selling author by next year. So I'm going to be putting in about 3 hours a day in the morning and maybe an hour at night. And that's going to leave this sort of like 45-minute window for us to see each other at the end of the day. And are you cool with that? And they'll either say yes or no. And if they say no, then you have to either adjust your goal or you have to adjust your relationship. And I think it just comes down to that. Just you just need clarity in your life. I think clarity is the answer for most relationship questions. Clarity and communication.
Absolutely. And not just talking about your goals, but talking about the things that you feel hinder your goals. Being extremely vulnerable about that and the thoughts that you have in your head. When you're with the person, that you feel most comfortable with, and hopefully it's your mate. For me, that is. He's my best friend. I can tell him just about anything. It could be the most, I would think it was stupid or something like that. He would just be like, what? Like I felt like that too. And that knowing somebody supports you even when it's something that you you never thought you would tell anybody or you would keep to yourself, to know that the worst things that you have in your head are really not that bad at all, and get it out of your get it out of your mind and kind of bounce it off of somebody, that can help you reach your goals too, because then you're busting through all these like mental obstacles you set up for yourself, and somebody's like bringing some light to it for you.
Yeah, I really agree. I think if you've really defined your ideal mate uh, crystal clear, I think that you are more likely to feel comfortable being vulnerable to them as well. Next question. How does someone handle talking slash venting to someone about a relationship in your life in a way that is not considered to be you talking about the other person in the relationship. I I don't understand the question. I'm going to read it again silently to myself. If somebody else did understand it, jump in.
Yeah, please read it again.
How does someone handle talking slash venting to someone about a relationship in your life in a way that is not considered to be you talking about the other person in the relationship? So maybe like somebody is gossiping. How do you talk to them without gossiping? Maybe? Is that?
Yeah, that's how it hits me. It strikes me as somebody asking how do they stay non-biased, like they're not not ganging up on the person that the questioner is trying to ask them about. Like um, that's how I think exactly gossip. Like how do you give them an answer back without looking like you're just joining their team and backtalking the other
Um, for myself, I sort of I just ask a lot of questions. I don't really give a lot of like I just go, oh yeah, why do you think they did that? You know, that's what I do. Um, it's not really a big problem in my life though, so I'm not really the one to ask.
person? Yeah, you're really good about asking the questions, which is a skill that I would like to work on myself. So anytime you want to throw some of that wisdom my way, I am open to it. Um, I do have to say, the gossip part, I've had to deal with quite a bit. I work in an office, and I have a team, and then we also have like a department and all that other good stuff. So there's a lot of gossip, and it tends to happen when people are really unhappy with how things are going, but nothing's really getting done. Um, and I've been on the bad side and the good side of it. And the bad side was I was helping gang up on whoever was being talked about. I was being kind of just petty, like because it was the easiest thing to do. Like it is so easy when everybody around you is being negative to just kind of join in and be like, yeah, let's get our pitchforks and just skewer these people. I know it sounds a little bit dramatic, but um, it took having a growth mindset, honestly, and the accountability. Like how Tom says, everything's my fault. Once I started doing the everything is my fault in my head, and starting to pull out all of the ick, I realized just how much I was judging other people to make myself feel better because my confidence was shot.
So,
And
so would you actually like somebody says like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Brittany dropped the ball again." Would you actually answer that with like, "Oh, what could I have done to help her or something?" Or how would you negate the gossip using the everything is my fault?
thank you, because I could have gone on a rabbit trail with that. Yeah, I would make it something like, how could I have helped? I actually have somebody on my team that I used to, in secret, be pretty judgmental of, because just it was hurting our team what they were doing, and I would just be like, why are they like that? And then after kind of that mental mindset recall, what I would do is I would be like, yeah, they're messing up, but like this is the team that I'm on. So helping them succeed is only going to help all of us succeed. And kind of looking back and starting to match up some things in their career, like their history of training, things like that. There was a training insufficiency, and so without allowing myself to be taken advantage of too much, I would start kind of pitching in and being like, okay, let me kind of try to teach you so we can fill in some of these gaps rather than just sit there and, kind of look down my nose at that difference. And that person ended up, getting a little bit better. We're still having some issues, but I felt a lot better at the end of the day, knowing that I wasn't being a jerk based on, like I wasn't doing anything to help before. So I had no right to be like that. Like that's kind of my mindset now. Is like, if you're not helping the problem, you are part of the problem.
Right. So if somebody comes to you and says, okay, Brittany is terrible. I'm sorry if anybody here's name is Brittany, by the way. It's just my go-to name for a girl, I guess. So Brittany's dropping the ball, and what you would reply with is like who trained her, or what can we do to fix it? And you just kind of jump into solution mindset. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. You're going to take a look at, where they came from, especially, like as far as their skill set, like how long have they been with a team? Like for me, I get very like drawing up the diagrams in my head of things. Yeah, you take a look at everything, a very objective look at everything. You take how you feel about them and everything out of the equation, just start stacking up facts. And if it looks like there's some kind of opportunity that you can do something that will help, um, just to fill in some of those gaps, or something that will help redirect them to be more successful. Like it's kind of like what I just say it is getting over myself. Like I have to kind of tuck all of my judgments away, because I have a tendency to get like that. But like I said, it all stems from my own issues. So, um, and yeah, and you just say to that person, you're like, okay, yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, there's definitely something going on. So, like, what can we do as their teammates to get this right? And it's not like some Care Bear powwow. It's kind of it's a little bit more rough around the edges than that. But at the end of the day, like, it's you got to take care of your people. Like it's like a family, Like you spend so much of your time with who you work with, and obviously family is a whole different topic. So if you want to speak on if that was a family situation, you go ahead, because I'm horrible with that part. But the work part, yeah, like, and when I say family, I mean extended, not my own unit. Um, yeah, you find out how you can help based on objective facts. You fill in the gaps, do what you can for them, use your skills instead of just holding them in and being judgy.
Cool. Well, I hope that did answer the question. The wording was a little tricky, so if it didn't, sorry, ask it again. Next question. If a person does something to break the trust of their partner, and decides to end the relationship, and later owns up to breaking their partner's trust, but denies ending the relationship, what are some ways to deal with that situation? Okay, the so
Can,
Brit,
can you repeat the question?
yeah. Okay, all right. So I think the way it is Brittany. She cheats on Tony, and Brittany ends the relationship. Then later she tells Tony that she cheated on him, but she denies ending the relationship. How could you deny ending a relationship? It seems like we should see other people, or whatever. It's pretty clear. Does anyone have any idea how somebody could deny ending a relationship?
Yeah, it sounds like a lack of accountability, like trying to leave the door open to make it reframed when you look back at it is, oh, well, I may have done this, but I didn't do that.
I shot the sheriff, but not the deputy. If a person does something to break the trust of their partner, um, then they're bad. Then they decide to end the relationship. That's good. And later owns up to breaking their partner's trust. That's good. But denies ending the relationship. That's crazy. What are some ways to deal with the situation? I would say to keep the relationship broken. That would I think that's the way to go there. If I'm reading that question right, it sounds like they're insane or lying. So yeah, I think. All right.
It sounds manipulative, really. It sounds like, somebody who knows that they did something wrong and trying to put that foot in the door so they can come back. And like I said, the reframing of it to get back into that person's life. Being like, yeah, you know what? I know I messed up, but I never wanted us to be over.
Right. But if they ended the relationship, that means they broke up with them. And then they're like, ah, I never wanted the relationship to be over. So that's why I just don't get that. That
Oh yeah, no, it makes no sense. There is no logic to it. But it's one of those things that depending on how they phrase it and what kind of emotional heartstrings they tug on and stuff, they can turn a fact like that into like kind of going back and rephrasing their like what they may have actually said and trying to twist it, you know. And
Oh, I've got it. I got it. Okay, I know a guy this happened to, where she cheated on him and she broke up with him, but then later she told him that the reason she cheated on him and the reason she broke up with him is because she didn't feel that she was important to him and she wanted him to pursue her. It's like if you let her go, she'll come back to you and all that BS. And she
exactly.
yeah, and she was crazy, and she actually lit fire to his apartment. So I would say, based on that limited sample set, that you're better off without her. All right, next question. Do you have a consistent routine of setting goals slash improving your relationship? If so, how do you implement it? Yes, I do. Um, so one thing that I do, actually not just my intimate relationship, but my relationship with all of my friends and family and everything. So there's six human needs: certainty, connection, contribution, growth, uncertainty, and significance. So what that's if there's six of them, and there's 12 months in the year. So every month I ask one of those in a sequence. So for example, let's say connection. So how could I increase the level of connection with, and I just go through my entire list. So loved ones, family members, friends, enemies, competitors, people I don't like, everything. I try to think of how can I increase my connection with all of these people, and that, and then I just next month I do the same one. Growth. How could I facilitate growth in XYZ? And that's one of the things that I do that I found very helpful. I also listen to Tony Robbins' Ultimate Relationship Program like maybe 3 times a year because I find that it just really puts me in a loving mood and makes me cognizant of what I'm doing. And also John Gottman's list of the four horsemen of the death of marriage and all that. Great book, John Gottman. Why marriages succeed and fail, I think is what it's called. And I give myself a report card on if I am doing those things, and like I am pretty critical, so I really try to work on that. So I'm not criticizing and using complaining rather than criticism and things like that. Uh, Anything else anyone else wants to add?
The six thingies you said,
Say
like the
again?
six aspects. Can you
Oh,
repeat the six aspects you
yeah,
talked about?
yeah. Every human has the same six human needs, and I use the acronym C3 Gus to remember it. It's contribution, connection, certainty, growth, uncertainty, and significance. And so you can, and everybody also, just while I'm on that topic, everybody also has a hierarchy of needs. So uh, one person might prioritize growth over significance, while somebody else might prioritize significance over growth. And you can actually play a really fun game at parties and like put people into a category after a few minutes of meeting with them. And it's fascinating. And you can actually imagine it in your head. For example, let's say you go to somebody's party and you know that they are significance, um, uncertainty or like variety, and then certainty are their top three needs. So when you go there, you know that the party is going to be very, very visually stimulating. It's going to be the place is going to be immaculate. They are going to try to be the center of the show, and they are going to be showing you things that they have. You know, like oh, look at my new Versace outfit or whatever. Whereas if you have somebody who's say connection, contribution, growth. Okay, well, when you go to their house, they might not necessarily have as beautiful of a home, or they might not just put as much emphasis on it, but they're going to be very interested in everybody who's there. They're going to be making sure that everybody's having fun, and their conversations are going to be about more proactive, productive things and things of that nature. So it's actually really a fun way to classify your friends so that you know everybody's strengths, so that you know who to go to for what and when. So yeah, it's a fun little skill you can add to your repertoire. C3 Gus. Uh, this one is, just gonna paste it in here. Oops, I pasted that one in twice. What is your oops? What is your relationship to yourself when nothing matters and everything matters all at once, and you feel complete and utter disconnect while feeling completely connected at once? Whoa. Okay. Let's break this down. So, what is your relationship to yourself when nothing matters? Um, I think that's called nihilistic. So it would be sad, I would imagine. What is your relationship to yourself when everything matters? Overwhelming uh, would be they say that people who suffer from extreme autism, the reason they can't go outside is because everything matters, and they have to count all the blades of grass, or they have to listen to every sound that they hear, and they have no filter. So I think emotionally that would be the same thing. If everything matters, that would be overwhelming, and if nothing matters, then you would feel probably dead inside. So I would imagine that a middle ground would be the best way to go with that. And you feel complete and utter disconnect while feeling completely connected. Uh, I don't I don't understand how I could feel completely disconnected and connected at once. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Um, I may be off base, but almost layman's terms, I think they're saying like, what is it to be alone in a crowd? You know, you've got all these people you maybe are connected to, like maybe acquaintances, and maybe people you talk to every once in a while, but like, you know, you're disconnected because you feel like an outlier. I mean, that's one interpretation.
Okay. So, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so disconnected in the sense of you have lots of people around you, but you're not necessarily feeling like an intimate connection to those people. Um, well, the solution to that section of the question, because it looks like there's a couple questions kind of together in there, but the solution to that is to connect with people. And how you do that is you get very interested in them, and you make yourself vulnerable, and you make mistakes, and you get hurt, and you try it again. Um, so that, I mean, that's how you connect with people, is you become fascinated with some aspect of them, and if there's nothing to be fascinated in that person, then you probably don't want to connect with that person. So, that would be the answer to that. What is your relationship to yourself when nothing matters and everything matters all at once? To me, that sounds is this all there is? That question, like when somebody maybe achieves supreme financial success, but they don't love their wife, or they're they've achieved this goal of, they wanted to open up a business selling pies, and now they realize they hate pies, or whatever the case may be. And if that's the case, then I would say you sell the business, or you fix the business, or you find a way to exit the business. And if it's with a relationship, it's kind of the same thing. You either end the relationship, or you decide to fix it. And if you decide to fix it without knowing the details of why nothing matters and everything matters all at once, um, you Tom always talks about having contrasting opinions, having two contrasting thoughts at the same time. I struggle with that a little bit. So I'm not definitely the person to talk to on that regard, but it sounds like that's kind of what's happening here. Anybody else have any thoughts on that one? I don't think I really answered that question very well.
If I can do it like you and not ramble like I've been, I feel like I've got a concept. And actually, it happened today. So this is fresh off the press, people. Um, so I was having a conversation with Christoph today about how how I feel about life, um, and it's kind of funny how the question of nothing matters and how do you feel about yourself or how do you stay connected like when everything matters and what I told him was sometimes it hits me over the head, it kind of freaks me out that like everything we do, and this is not to be depressing, this is not to be nihilistic or anything like that, but everything we do is to avoid death in some way, is to survive, and that seems like a really sad, really kind of just like especially if you don't want that eventuality. It it it's kind of crazy to think that everything we do is kind of just either to like distract ourselves from the thought of mortality or to prevent that end from happening. But then the conflicting thought, or the competing thought, I should say, um, is that it's all for good. Like it's everything that you do is you're enriching your life. You're giving yourself a legacy to pass on, um, and that's what makes it worth living. So I know it's been said before. I'm pretty much just restating an idea that's been echoed through time. But it, for me, uh, it means a lot because I used to be deeply depressed to the point of wanting to think about letting go. And it was that thought of why am I here? It's just I'm gonna end up going away anyways. But what I realized was there was so much that was important to me, and the more that I found what was important to me, even knowing that one day it was all gonna be over, like it's worth it. So yeah, two competing thoughts.
I think that I had a friend who said that as well, that um, all we're trying to do is avoid death, and I very much disagree. I don't know if I'm right, but I very much disagree with that opinion on life. I think that if you tickle a baby and it laughs, you're not trying to avoid death. You're you're embracing life. You're looking at this baby and, especially if it's yours, but even if it's not, it's laughing hysterically, and it's this beautiful poetry of life that you get to experience. And I read a quote once that said, "We are the universe that has grown eyes to experience itself." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." Because I mean, that's the juice. And if you were to die tomorrow, or if you were to die 1,000 years from now, tickling that baby was still pretty awesome. And I think that it's not about avoiding death. It's kind of like the people who make the best lovers are the people who enjoy the entire experience. They're not just trying to have an orgasm. I think it's the same thing with life. I think people who have the best lives are the people who are trying to enjoy their life, not just trying to last as long as possible, or trying to get to the end as quick as possible either. I don't know, just my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's why, like, for me, as far as my internal way of processing things, it very is two competing thoughts for me because it varies, in intensity depending on how I'm feeling between whether I think I live in a hostile or a friendly universe, so to speak. I tend to be very emotionally variable, like you know that now. We've been friends for a little bit, but it's it is, and it's like I said, like the whole survival thing. Like I think of it more like on a biological level, like all of the mechanisms that we have that kind of we try to keep ourselves safe. And yeah, even tickling a baby, like I consider that, it's beautiful. Like absolutely, I love tickling babies. But even finding that joy is like a safety mechanism because if staying happy is going to keep you from meeting your end too, or finding a way. Like it's very like it's a distantly sweet concept. I wish I could explain it a little bit more finitely, but it, it's pretty much the two competing ideas are the same idea, but one's flipped on its head. I don't know if that makes any sense.
So that is the end of all the questions that we got. So I'm just going to break off the recording 1 second, and then we'll switch it over to just miscellaneous free-for-all AMA.